What Really Happened with your host, Mike Rivero. The history the government hopes you never learn. Here is your host, Michael Rivero.
Welcome to our show today. It is Friday, January 29th, 2021. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. Thank goodness it's Friday. We have a lot to talk about today. Mike is in our control room, twiddling the dials and keeping us out of trouble. We've got a lot of news to go through, and then we have a surprise treat for hour number two. The lovely Lady Claire is going to be sitting in for some portion of hour number two, not to do news, but to basically answer a lot of the questions we get in the email, what she's been doing, what the music she's working on, what's going to be happening with Claire's Corner, and we'll have the phone lines open so people can talk to her, and so that'll be kind of fun to see our Friday. We're not going back to Claire every Friday, but she agreed to sit in today just to respond to the fans who are saying, we miss her. All righty, getting on to the news here. We have this interesting little story that came out from uns.com, and they've really nailed it here. They're saying that everything that challenges the establishment supremacy must be white supremacy. And, basically everything the neoliberal establishment doesn't like is white supremacy. It's kind of funny how the actual supremacists have weaponized accusations of white supremacy as a way to roll roughshod over any threat to their power, but it's effective, so they do so. And the unprecedented mania, the ultimate blow-off tops, is a Trump residual. Now this time, and everybody's celebrating this, amateur investors decided to revolt against the pros. Using Reddit and a subreddit known as R Wall Street Bets, the amateurs began a coordinated effort to buy GameStop stock to drive its price up. And it's always been said about Trump and about Trump, surely don't expect us to learn the code. Anyway, basically, everybody's enjoying this. They're watching it. They're getting out their popcorn. Reddit has succeeded in doing what the Republicans and Democrats can't do, and that's unite the country, because everybody's out there and saying, yes, this is great. We're watching the billionaires. There was actually a billionaire went on TV and started crying and playing for sympathy. And I'm sorry, I don't have sympathy for you. You're a billionaire. As poor little baby here. We're going to get back to this whole GameStop thing a little further in when we get into the economy here, but I want to come on back here because the House, the Senate, and Pelosi are still pushing forward on the impeachment trial, and Pelosi is out there saying that this is about the protection of the Constitution and the preservation of our republic. Boy, I tell you, Pelosi just keeps piling it higher and deeper because they're not protecting the Constitution, and they're certainly not preserving the Republic, not when they have that kind of massive election fraud going on. But again, this is not about getting Trump out of office because he's out of office. This is about damaging them so bad he can't come back. They're absolutely terrified that if Trump were to make a political comeback, that he would come in, and this time he would put on those presidential brass knuckles and he would get down to business here. Now, another story on this same topic here, this is over at Press TV, and it's basically saying that the Democrats' divide and conquer show trial may jeopardize their duopoly, which I think would be a good thing. And they're talking about most average Americans just really aren't that interested in seeing former President Trump in the dock. They're much more concerned about things like the economy, the pandemic, the flooding, the collapsing infrastructure, the open southern border. And we're all sitting here, Republicans and Democrats alike, looking at the Congress, behaving like a marble version of Romper Room, and wondering when they're going to put down this petty vindictiveness and actually start working for the nation and its people. My guess, going to be a cold day in the dark regions. because they're just petty, vindictive things here. Now, more and more constitutional scholars are weighing in on the issue of the impeachment. And they're saying, this is a first of a kind proceeding. It is the first time a president is being subject to impeachment and removal from office after he's already out of office. Actually, I think it really did happen once before, back in the 1800s. But Rand Paul has raised a point of order on the Senate floor, forcing the chamber to take a stance on the constitutionality of the proceedings. Now, that got voted down. It was a 55-45 vote against Rand Paul, meaning the Senate trial will go ahead. But it also revealed nearly half the chamber is opposed to the proceedings. Now, 5 Republicans deserted Trump and voted with the Democrats, but that is a far cry from the 17 that must desert Trump to actually remove or to basically convict. And that's not likely to happen. The Democrats are hoisting with their own petard on this one. They really are. Okay, Tulsi Gabbard, and former Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard is out there saying the Democrats are trying to turn America into a police state. And remember, she is a Democrat herself, so she speaks from deep knowledge here. Meanwhile, over at the White House, Joe Biden is defending all these executive orders that he is issuing. Now, he's done 40 in the last 2 weeks. And he's pushing back against the New York Times criticism that he is doing an end run around Congress. And he says he defends these executive orders by saying he's trying to fix everything that Trump broke. Again, whether it was broken or not is purely a matter of opinion and politics here. What's really interesting is last October, okay, Joe Biden was discussing his tax proposals, and he was being interviewed on ABC News, and he said he would need votes and approval from Congress. And back in October, Biden said, you can't legislate by executive orders unless you're a dictator. So 40 executive orders in 2 weeks, that happens to be an all-time record. Biden, Uber, listen. Anyway, let's see. So Joe Biden is abandoning his call for bipartisan unity. He is going to force taxpayers to fund abortion. And there are a lot of people who are very uncomfortable with abortion, and they certainly resent their money being spent on it. And, my question is, in a nation where our college students are still drowning in debt, and there is inadequate, regular, needed medical care, why we can't let the people seeking abortions just go ahead and pay for them themselves. Why is it the government's and taxpayers' responsibility that everybody who wants an abortion should get one free? It really does not make a lot of sense. And, again, this is one of his campaign promises. Joe Biden was paying lip service to the Democrats' far left base. This is the faction that wants abortion even after birth, which that's murder. I'm sorry, that's first-degree murder. And along with the climate change measures that are going to kill American jobs and the suppression of opposing opinions. So he's in this flurry of executive actions, he's trying to look like he's keeping all of his campaign promises. And again, this idea that you can abort a baby after it's born, even China doesn't do that. They'll abort the baby right up to the moment of birth, but if it pops out, it's a citizen of China, and they have to take care of it. People are starting to react to all these executive orders. A lot of them are calling their constitutionality into action into question, rather, because executive orders normally only apply to the executive branch, and yet these are being written to basically try and constrain the entire country. And a coalition of state attorneys general Wednesday sent a letter to Joe Biden reminding him that any potentially unconstitutional executive actions or federal overreach will not go unchallenged. They're loaded for bear, and they're saying, don't you dare make a mistake with any of this, or they're going to go after you. Apparently, there are 6 states signed on to this, probably more yet to come. Speaking of corruption, remember Peter Strzok, FBI former agent at the FBI, was having an affair with one of his co-agents, Lisa, I forget her name, and it doesn't really matter here. But apparently, Peter Strzok's wife, Melissa Hodgman, has been named the acting director of the Division of Enforcement for the Securities and Exchange Commission. Oh my, that seems rather convenient here. And maybe it's somebody's payback. Meanwhile, the Biden Department of Justice has apparently invited a former big tech defender to lead the administration's antitrust division. He is, in theory, changing sides. He used to defend against antitrust. Now he's prosecuting, or at least that's what we're being told here. This next one I agree with here. Joe Biden has ordered the Department of Justice to end its reliance on privately operated prisons and acknowledge the central role government has played in implementing discriminatory housing problems. Well, let's take that first one. We know the private prison industry has been abused. We know there was that judge, I think it was 3 years ago, was busted for basically sentencing people to prison who didn't need to go there because the prison needed the additional labor. We found out that these contracts that these prison corporations have with states and cities and counties say that if there isn't a minimum number of prisoners kept in there, that there's a huge financial fine for the city or state or county. I mean, it's a completely corrupt system, and it basically amounts to slave labor. They're in there, they're running telephone boards, marketing centers, telemarketing centers, they're making furniture, they're competing against companies, American companies, that don't have the advantage of being able to pay their staff, something like $1 an hour. And so I think it's a good idea to get rid of them and, get prisons back to, reforming people rather than simply cranking up the recidivism rate in order to keep them employed in these prison factories. So this one, score 1 for Joe Biden. I think it's a really good idea. Over at the Washington Post, they cannot let this guy go. They've had an op-ed by Philip Kennicott basically saying Trump should never have a presidential library. And he's saying Congress should move quickly to make sure he never will. Well, that's going to be a little tricky, okay? First of all, there is no actual law regarding presidential libraries. Franklin Delano Roosevelt started the first one by donating his house to be the Franklin Presidential Library, and it's been a tradition ever since. But there's no actual provision in law for presidential libraries. It's something that the presidents will raise money for and they will build. And here's where it gets interesting. Donald Trump right now is a private citizen. And Congress really does not have the authority to go to a private citizen and say that you may not build this building if it conforms to all of the local zoning rules. So this is going to be kind of interesting. And it's typical of the Washington Compost that they're going to come out with this kind of a thing. Just one more dig at Donald Trump. They really hate him. Over at Twitter, they have suspended the founder of the Internet Accountability Project from their platform as of yesterday. Now, the Internet Accountability Project is a leading voice in the conservative grassroots movement to hold big tech accountable and defend free and open political debate online. So, of course, Twitter pulled the plug on the founder right there. Meanwhile, over at YouTube, they have demonetized the Epic Times and really didn't have a good reason for doing it. They kind of hemmed and hawed and said, well, you know, it's, you know, vague reasons, and, you know, that was kind of it. And YouTube apparently was reporting, you know, in the Breitbart, basically said they demonetized Epic Times and affiliated channels and suspended them from the YouTube Partner Program. And they're basically out there saying that some of the Epic Times videos violated the platform's policies, but did not specify which videos were the problem or what parts of the policies were being violated. Okay? Now, to nobody's surprise, and we have been talking about this for a long time, there's an article over at the Organic Prepper commenting on how America's trust in the corporate media has hit an all-time low. And apparently, the prostitutes and correspondents are shocked. Do you hear me? They're shocked. So, you know, for the first time, the majority of Americans do not trust the corporate media. This is coming from public relations firm Edelman's annual Trust Barometer. And they found that fewer than half of all Americans trust the corporate media, despite the constant propaganda onslaught. Well, you know, that's why you're always welcome here at Republic Broadcasting here. But anyone who's been following along in the media and the independent media was predicting this long ago. Corporate media is a dinosaur. It is going extinct. And, you know, even before Google conspired with Zuckerberg and other digital giants to crush independent media, those independent outlets competed with and beat corporate media. There was actually one time when WhatReallyHappened.com was out pulling Rush Limbaugh. So that was a bit of a pleasant surprise here. So the corporate media and big tech attempted to put a stop to that evolution, but the damage was done. Independent media gave a large portion of the American people a glimpse of what was really going on behind the scenes, and ever since, corporate media has been withering on the vine because, you know, we cheated, we told the truth, and corporate media is not allowed to do that. Over at ABC, the news president, James Goldston, is planning to step down at the end of March, adding the network to a growing list of major news organizations simultaneously in need of new leaders. Now, Goldston announced his departure yesterday and said, you know, he's been working for ABC for nearly 2 decades, including the past 7 years as president. He's saying it's time for a change, and he's searching for a successor. Frankly, I get a strong sense of rat leaving a sinking ship. Apparently, getting into election fraud here, the Election Assistance Commission told the Senate last December it had 2 accredited test laboratories to validate the election systems, the election machines. In reality, it had none. Absolutely none. Okay. Over in Maricopa County, apparently their Board of Supervisors lied. Apparently they claimed that they had auditors who were certified. Gateway Pundit did a little research, a little investigative journalism, discovered their auditors were uncertified. And remember, earlier in the week, I think it was Wednesday, we reported that Maricopa has hired the same exact companies that initially certified the Dominion machines to carry out this audit. Gee, I wonder what they're going to find. We got to take a break for commercials, and we will be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and a friendly reminder that Republic Broadcasting Network is dedicated to keeping Americans fully informed so that they can make good choices. And to do that, we need your continued support. And once again, we thank those of you who have been supporting Republic Broadcasting. We encourage those of you who have not yet stepped forward to please do so. And the postal address where you can send a check, money order, or if you prefer anonymity cash, is Republic Broadcasting Network, 2251 Double Creek Drive, number 302, Round Rock, Texas, 78664. The phone number where you can make a credit or debit card donation is 800-724-2719, extension 3. The network thanks you. And of course, all this contact information can be found at the top of republicbroadcasting.org. All right, we went into the commercial break talking about election fraud and the backlash here. And there's an interesting little story. This came out of the Gateway Pundit, wondering how it is that a former Dominion employee for 10 years who represented Dominion in certifying the Pennsylvania implementation of the democracy suite back in 2017 now works for the government agency that certifies voting machine systems. Can you say conflict of interest? I knew you could. Anyway, and this next story just annoys me. It just annoys me. 5 days after Joe Biden is inaugurated, a judge rules that the late changes to Virginia election law that allowed late mail-in ballots without postmarks to be counted is illegal. Gee, you think? I mean, it was never legal to begin with. And I guess, the thinking now is, well, Biden's the president and it's too late to do anything. And yeah, we did screw up and we broke the law. And, what are you guys going to do about it? So that remains to be seen. But Public Interest Legal Foundation President J. Christian Adams basically said this is a big win for the rule of law. No, it isn't, because the wrong guy is still in the Oval Office. All right, let's talk about the economy. And as we indicated at the beginning of the show, everybody around the world is enjoying what was going on over at GameStop. And there's an article on this over at the Daily Mail in Great Britain, how minnows sank the Wall Street sharks. And they're saying it's the coolest story, financial story in years, about how this army of small investors who took revenge on the hedge fund millionaires. And that's really what it is. Everybody's on board with this. Yes, get those, hedge fund billionaires and so forth. So basically, this stock market community on Reddit, amateur traders decided they were going to work against the financial professionals who had all bet that GameStop was about to collapse, and instead they reversed it. And it hit these billionaires. Some of these hedge funds literally went out of business. And I mean, billions and billions in losses, which left the hedge funds and wound up in some of these small investors there. But everybody's enjoying it. The big boys got pulled down. The government's trying to figure out a way how they can make this illegal, even though it's basically how Wall Street has been plundering the people all along. And there's already a precedent for it, where the Wall Street brokers are allowed to use high-frequency computer trading, but ordinary citizens are not. So, a one-sided law to benefit the wealthy. Well, this is what this country is built on here. Anyway, this hedge fund manager, the same one who cried over a Democratic tax proposal, slammed the Robinhood investors buying GameStop stock as losers, spending their government stimulus money to gamble on the markets. Well, there's nothing wrong with that if you wind up winning. But apparently this guy just went on out there, and he's just very angry and upset and unhappy and too gosh darn bad. I don't have any sympathy for these Wall Street sharks, and apparently I'm not alone on that one. And it's it's fun to watch. What can I tell you? I'm sorry. I hate to be that way, but it's fun to watch. Apparently, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has earned over $800,000 from one of the hedge funds at the center of this whole GameStop financial controversy. But of course, the White House says it's really no big deal. Well, that's reassuring to hear, and we can ignore that one now. Meanwhile, all this attention on stock trading and everything has not only dragged hedge funds. Oh, I got to take another break for commercials. You're going to like this next story. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to our show here, and we're finishing up on this GameStop controversy, and it is a huge amount of fun to watch. All these Wall Streeters, they're just whining and crying, and the money's supposed to flow toward us, not away from us. What's wrong with all you people? And Tucker Carlson had a cogent comment out there that it's basically dragging what hedge funds do out into the public light. And a lot of people don't really understand how they make their money and how actually destructive they can be. Meanwhile, this new attention to the stock market has also brought new attention to Nancy Pelosi's stock purchase in Tesla that came just before Joe Biden issued his proclamation that the entire federal vehicle fleet would be made totally electric. And obviously, Tesla would be a major part of that. They'd be getting richer, and Nancy with them. Gee, I think that's called insider trading. All right, let's talk about COVID. It's still out there. Now, yesterday we had a story where basically New York Attorney General Letitia James had said that New York undercounted the figures for nursing home deaths by as much as 50%. And Andrew Cuomo came on out and said it's utterly ridiculous to say that we undercounted the deaths by 50%. It was only 43%. So that makes it all hunky-dory here. But apparently, it's 43% higher than previously announced at nearly 13,000. And wow, I mean, that's a really big number. Now, Dr. Fauci apparently has been wrong yet again. Kind of track record for the highest paid person in the federal government. Apparently, the Novavax vaccine is only 50% effective against the mutant South African COVID strain. Well, what do we mean by being effective? Because we're hearing from Pfizer and Moderna that their shots won't prevent you from getting COVID, won't prevent you from passing it along. Supposedly, it'll bring the symptoms down, but that's about it. Now, to me, that's an effectiveness of 0. And so Novavax vaccine is 50% of 0. It's another big, fat 0. So we've got Pfizer out there basically admitting their vaccine does not prevent COVID. And remember, technically, these are not vaccines. They are gene therapy and therefore exempt from the legal protections that vaccines enjoy, like the Vaccine Injury Court and indemnification. Gene therapy doesn't qualify under that. So we've got this article that came out of Dr. Mercola's website, and he's sounding a warning about the use of messenger RNA and lipid nanoparticles containing polyethylene glycol. They're saying the messenger RNA can potentially be converted to DNA in the presence of reverse transcriptase. That DNA potentially could become linked to your native DNA. And this is all cutting edge technology, but it really has not been robustly tested. 6 months from now, everybody who gets the shot could grow a third hand out of their forehead. Story coming on out from Scoopy Web saying that they're working on ways to get rid of the needle for the COVID sticks. They want to use pills and sprays. Vaccine czar Kate Bingham says needles will be phased out in the battle against the mutating virus, and reveals that she broke dry January with a glass of wine when she heard that UK made Novavax pass trials with a 90% success rate. Well, you cracked that bottle a little too early because now they're saying it's only 50%. Down in Louisiana, there has been another adverse reaction to the Pfizer shot. And apparently this woman in the state of Louisiana went into uncontrollable spasms. The woman's son posted a video on Facebook showing her going into convulsions. She was then sent to the hospital. So the son basically said, this is what the Pfizer vaccine has done to my mom. She was admitted to the hospital. And he's sounding a warning saying, it's good for some people, but be very, very careful before you get the shot. Now, story coming on out from your destination now. Today, Johnson & Johnson announced that its single-dose vaccine works and is 72% effective in preventing COVID-19 in the United States, but a lower rate of 66% was observed globally in the large trial conducted across 3 continents and against multiple variants. So the numbers are kind of all over the place there. And don't forget, when the Pfizer shot first came out, 95% effectiveness. We know now that was simply not true. Another story, this one coming out of 21st Century Wire, more doubts about the safety of the mRNA genetic intervention. And apparently German professor Dr. Stephen Hawkerts is a biologist, pharmacologist, and toxicologist, and he's sounding the alarm about a number of unanswered questions surrounding the current coronavirus crisis. And he's basically challenging the wisdom of lockdowns, the pharmaceutical interventions, and he's specifically calling into question the ethics of using an experimental mRNA shot on people around the world. Now, Dr. Hawkerts is out there saying lockdowns have never been proven to work, and the rushed nature of the new mRNA shots may prove a unnecessary risk for countless people. Now, there's another point of view. This came over from SOTNet, and they're basically asking, is the COVID pandemic merely economic theater? Because we know that huge amounts of money are being made on this. And this article is basically saying that bringing together the U.S. emergency bank lending crisis and the now massive COVID response, it seems to be one of the main reasons it's happening is because the USA's economic collapse and the dollar's demise can be put on hold by a worldwide manufactured economic freeze. Well, I think they're going to go the other way. I think when the crash happens, and it's probably going to happen in the not too distant future, they're going to blame it on the pandemic, saying, we didn't mess things up here. All right, here's where corporate media and the salespeople have a lot to answer for. Okay, now apparently there is a study that shows countries that used hydroxychloroquine had a 79% lower mortality rate than countries that banned the use of hydroxychloroquine, like the United States. That means that Dr. Fauci, Dr. Birx, the CDC, the liberal fake news media, and the tech giants have been pushing a lie that has killed people. There are people who are dead because they could not get the hydroxychloroquine. Think about that one for a while. And then ask yourself, what kind of a system is willing to trade hundreds of thousands of American lives for a fast buck, which is exactly what's happening here. Interestingly enough, over at YouTube, they have deleted several videos from the channel of Senator Ron Johnson. Now, the videos were from a Senate hearing on coronavirus treatments featuring a doctor testifying about use of the medicine ivermectin in cases of the virus. And public comments, Senator Johnson said YouTube's decision to take down videos of the hearing was an attack on freedom of speech. Gee, you think? It's all about protecting big pharma vaccine profits. You know, ivermectin, go away. Hydroxychloroquine, go away. You know, forget about being deadly to the people. It's deadly to our bank accounts. Our wallets are suffering. Here's one that's really interesting. Over in Great Britain, they are refusing to make public the AstraZeneca vaccine contract due to, and I quote, national security risk, end quote. They obviously have got something to hide over there. Apparently, over at a school board in, actually, I don't have the location here in my talking points, but apparently a father got up and just made this fiery speech about reopening the schools, and hopefully the school board is going to listen. Now, remember the other day, the CDC said there is no evidence that schools with proper safety precautions like face masks represent a super spreader environment, and, you know, they can go back there. Now, down in New Orleans, apparently Mardi Gras is being canceled again this year because of the COVID scamdemic here. So people are decorating their houses to resemble Mardi Gras floats. You know, it's like decorating your home for Christmas, only they're basically decorating their homes to look like Mardi Gras floats to cheer each other up. So you've got to admire the resiliency down there. All right, turning to the international news here. No, this is not international. This is still part of the COVID situation. Over in Lebanon, they're having these major anti-lockdown protests like they're having up in the Netherlands here. But in Lebanon, they're turning violent. Apparently, one person has been killed. 200 others have been injured in the city of Tripoli during a third night of clashes between security forces and demonstrators, angered by a coronavirus lockdown that has worsened an already severe economic crisis. Gee, just like what we have here in the United States of America. And apparently at least 66 people were sent to the hospital. And apparently, yeah, this is about the same guy getting shot here. Okay, now, this is something to keep out for. We've been talking a lot about scammers, and I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to them. I consider them a very low form of life, if they are even life at all. But apparently over in Great Britain, the latest scam there involves text messages and phone calls to people claiming they have to pay a fine for breaching the COVID-19 lockdown rules. And the racketeering messages purport to come from the British government, the National Health Service, the people's local GP surgeries, and even the World Health Organization. And the goal is to trick unsuspecting members of the public into handing over money to cover the costs of the non-existent penalty charges. So be skeptical. I mean, every time there's something bad happening to our civilization, the scammers just make it worse. They really do. They absolutely do. And they get enough money, they run for Congress. The FDA has issued a new warning on hand sanitizers, and apparently more than half of the hand sanitizers imported from Mexico contain dangerous levels of toxic ingredients. Now, apparently one of the biggest problems involves methanol or wood alcohol. Now, the alcohol that you normally would use on your hands, that you would normally drink, is ethanol, otherwise known as grain alcohol or moonshine. The problem is, if you're not very careful with the way you are running your still, you can accidentally produce the methanol instead of the ethanol. And it can be absorbed through the skin and can prove to be life-threatening. So you want to be very, very careful about that. Or buy a bottle of Everclear from the local bottle shop and just make your own. Anyway, now this is the international news here. The Pentagon says the date for the Afghan pullout is uncertain. Is Biden rethinking peace up there? And apparently yesterday, the Pentagon announced the pullout date from Afghanistan is now uncertain and is conditional on the Taliban meeting a series of commitments. Now, remember, there's a little bit of a scam going on here because they're talking about the regular uniformed military being drawn down in Afghanistan, but that does not include the 80,000 contractors, paid mercenaries working for the Pentagon in Afghanistan. So they're trying to have their war and eat it too, so to speak. The United States Navy has 3 warships operating in the Black Sea, which is where NATO is looking to increase its naval presence. The USS Porter, a guided missile destroyer, entered the waters yesterday, joining 2 U.S. ships that were already there. The USS Donald Cook, another guided missile destroyer, and notorious for having been paralyzed by Russian electronic warfare some time back. And then the oiler USNS Laramie all went into the Black Sea last Sunday. Now, Russia, of course, immediately took notice, and they deployed a mobile coastal defense anti-ship system in Crimea. Everybody's rattling their sabers. Meanwhile, over in Syria, Russian attack helicopters are purging ISIS cells in central Syria. The Syrian army and Russia are continuing to hunt down and neutralize ISIS in the Deir ez-Zor desert. And in a recent series of raids, the government forces eliminated at least 8 ISIS members. I'm not impressed. And, 8, just 8. But they're out there, trying to basically smash up their infrastructure here. Meanwhile, U.S. occupation forces are building a new military base in Hasaka, Syria, deploying logistic materials and military equipment there. Little reminder, the Syrian government doesn't really want them there. We got to take another break for commercials. We'll be right back. Welcome back to our show. Here we're talking about the international news, and apparently Saudi Arabia has hired over a dozen lobbying firms here in the United States to try and kind of clean up its image and boost relations with the United States and basically improve the Riyadh image as Biden takes office here. This may have been done partly in response to the fact that Biden has frozen weapons sales to Saudi Arabia, which has kind of put Mohammed bin Salman on the outs. Over in Iran, they're basically responding to Secretary of State Blinken's comment that Iran must return to compliance with the 2015 nuclear deal before the Biden administration does. And Iran is saying, no, you go first. Because the U.S. violated the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. They blocked food and medicine to Iranians. They punished adherence to UNSCR 2231. And so they're saying, you've got to show good faith here. So talking tough there. Apparently, the head of U.S. Central Command has arrived in Israel. for a 2-day visit. And the visit from General Frank McKenzie is the first since the Trump administration ordered Israel to be covered under CENTCOM. Previously, Israel fell under the U.S. European Command because of the tensions between Israel and Washington's Arab allies in the region. But with warming ties and normalization, the U.S. took a step to bolster cooperation among all these nations, at least militarily. Apparently yesterday, recently confirmed SecDef Lloyd Austin had his first phone call with his Israeli counterpart, Defense Minister Benny Gantz. And apparently, what did they discuss? Well, of course, they discussed Iran. Apparently, Austin pledged to uphold Israel's qualitative military edge. This is a U.S. promise that Israel will always have the best and brightest and coolest and hippest of weapons compared to their neighbors. So, anyway. Over at the Air Force, and this is something I hope finds its way into the civilian market, the Air Force has developed a technology using cellular reprogramming that could heal wounds more than 5 times faster than the unaided human body. And they're basically saying they're learning how to reprogram the cells so the bodies heal faster. Now, obviously, this has got military application, but somewhere down the road, maybe this is going to get on out to the civilian market. Meanwhile, and this is kind of interesting, Northrop Grumman is walking away from a contract to produce cluster bombs. And apparently, Northrop CEO Kathy Warden says, they're concerned about the human rights and civilians being killed. So, wow, a weapons company with ethics. Where's Tony Stark when you need him? Okay. And there's the music. We're going to take a break here for station identification. We got a caller waiting on the line. And of course, as you can see, if you're on YouTube, the lovely Lady Claire has finally returned. The prodigal Claire has come on back. We'll be right back in a few minutes. Welcome back to our show, hour number 2. We're going to go ahead and open the phone lines, area code 512-248-8252. But before we start taking phone calls, I asked the lovely Lady Claire to basically sit in for part of the show today because I've gotten a lot of fan mail. What are you doing? What are you up to? Mm-hmm. So I guess beginning at the beginning, what are you doing musically these days?
Well, I am finishing a piece of music for our praise choir.
Okay.
And getting that in line and getting that working.
Good.
And I'm also working on Claire's Corner, which is going to be a weekly feature of the show. And I thought for a while what might be useful, both for me and for our listeners and readers, was to point out and focus where some people are doing some good in this world. Because I think right now that's something we all really need to hang on to.
Absolutely.
There are some really good people who are doing some incredible work with charity. And sometimes it's not even a question of money, because most of us are pretty well tapped out.
Yeah, we are.
Sometimes it's just a question of time.
I'm selling my blood for medical experiments.
and so that's what I want to do with Claire's Corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm doing.
That's what we're doing. All right. Well, now it's you know what Claire's been doing, and we've put down those vicious rumors that I murdered her. So
No.
All right, let's start taking phone calls. Tom in Florida. Hello, Tom. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, good day, Michael. Good day to you and Claire. And it's great to hear you, Claire. And yeah, Mike. What I got to say is yesterday I heard a couple of your callers calling. I couldn't call in, but I heard Joe. He's thinking of moving to Florida. Yeah, I know Florida pretty much like the back of my hand. A lot of places for him to go. A good place maybe for him would look at the Claremont area. Winter Haven. You got Frostproof. That's in the interior of Florida. So basically, you'd be away pretty much from the hurricanes to the Ocala. Ocala, you do have a lot of people from the New York area, New Jersey moving into that area, Marion County, and west of there, Denellen and all that. That's all going to be sold out probably pretty much, from the New Yorkers and New Jerseyans. But as far as that's basically what I could tell them. If he wants to go on the West Coast, yeah, you got Tarpon Springs, You got Sarasota, some nice areas. And on the East Coast, Marco called in yesterday. He said, I think he said Cocoa Beach was on the West Coast. No, it's on the East Coast, actually. But it's, if you think about it, Mike, Cocoa Beach and Kennedy Space Center is there for what reason when they actually put it there?
Well, they wanted to get someplace to launch over the Atlantic so that the rocket didn't come down by mistake on somebody's home. And obviously, the further south they go, the greater the boost they get from the Earth's rotation, which is why when we lived in Hawaii, I was trying to argue that, we should have had a space launch facility there.
Yes, absolutely agree.
Yep.
But yeah, Cocoa Beach,
but they don't listen to me.
Very seldom get hit with a hurricane. They get hurt with a hurricane maybe like every 50 years in Cocoa area, but that's beside the point. There's a lot of great places in Florida that Joe does come here. He'd find some wonderful places. He could always go to, he could always meet nice lady from Canada up there. He can meet her in Orlando, go to Disney World instead of Disneyland.
Okay.
You meet her, and yeah.
I've never been to Disney World.
So Layla.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you ever come to Florida, I'll treat you and Clara. I'll buy your tickets. How's that?
Well, that sounds very attractive. Okay, very attractive. Thank you.
I give you my word on that. I give you my whole word on that. If you guys want to go to Florida, tell me what in the summertime somewhere, and I'll meet you over there. But now pay for your tickets to go enter into Disney World or Epcot or wherever.
Yes.
A lot of other places, SeaWorld, whatever. But as far as now, Mike, what I really want to talk about also, it's been weighing on my mind is, I've been hearing the news now that this Lindsey Graham may go in along with this Dickie Durbin. Dickie Durbin's trying to get an amnesty bill passed now with the Democrats and get some Republicans on board.
Oh, man.
And I just think it's going to be a total disaster, Mike. If
I agree.
Like I go back to these angel mothers and fathers. Well,
Yes.
Rick Scott was on today, Mike, here in South Florida. He was on a radio show I was listening to. And he seems like a little wishy-washy on this amnesty.
Yeah.
I'm like, but the guy, the host was saying, if you do this, you're pretty basically much guaranteeing Republicans will never get back in power.
Yeah.
Because these people are going to basically all vote Democrat because they want the free handouts. Everything's free, Mike. If the United States is such a racist country and white men are such bad people, and why are these people wanting to come from Africa, Mexico, Central America here? No.
It doesn't make any sense. Well, they've been told they're going to get all kinds of free stuff, and then when they don't get the free stuff, they act out with consequences that we're already seeing over in Europe.
Yes. Oh, Mike, by the way, maybe you can answer this to your audience and to me. I don't know if I've heard this correctly, but did you see that in Portland, Washington, Portland, Oregon, that most of these people protesting were they were in front of the headquarters for the Immigration and Naturalization Service. And they're going to try to burn the building down.
Yes.
I caught some of that. I don't know exactly what's going on. What is that all about?
Well, I didn't really see it in much detail, but, it's apparently Antifa has decided Biden is a bad person. They trashed the Democratic headquarters there, and now they're going after the Immigration Customs Enforcement building because they are in support of wide open borders. I mean, it's a chaotic time, and Biden isn't dealing forcefully with these immigration rioters any more than Trump did.
Correct. Well, yeah. I caught a little of that, and I'm like, wow, this is getting totally out of hand. But one more thing, Mike, I know you got other callers. Mike, what I just want to say is this, and I'll let you go. As far as what I'm seeing with this immigration, Mike, is that the angel mothers and fathers, when one of their loved ones got hurt or murdered, they didn't get, I guess they couldn't sue the federal government. They're not getting no money out of the deal. But what I don't understand is if it was one of these politicians' family members who got wounded or hurt real severely or murdered, you bet they would have a different tune. And Mike, it's appalling that this is going to continue on until something tragically happens. As far as I believe that raid on the Capitol was a panty raid, like our caller from Alabama says, compared to what's going to happen if this continues on, because it's just off the charts, Mike, with this immigration. And this is going to change the whole complexion of this country forever.
Yes.
Look at California, Mike. How did Ronald Reagan sign a bill? They let 2 million illegals come in here. All of a sudden, there's 9 million.
Yes.
There's only supposed to be, that was it. They were gonna end it at 2 million people in California, but now all of a sudden you got almost close to 9 million illegals in one state.
Yep.
Arizona, Texas, Georgia. They're trying to flood it with illegal immigration. It's unbelievable. My friend told me he lived on the border of Florida and Georgia. He said it's everywhere you go. It looks like little Mexico.
Yes.
There's a couple towns right on the border of Florida and Georgia. It's like little Mexico over there. So yeah, Mike, this is just a disaster. And we're not even going. I know you got other callers, but I'll let you go. But this Chinese situation is another thing. This Wuhan virus. Nothing was done in 1968 with a cure for that with the Wuhan flu. But the Wuhan flu is back. It's only the only thing, Mike. They reversed the numbers. Instead of H1N1, it's N1H1H3 or something. That was what it was back in 1968. So this has all been a big scam, and the Democrats knew how to play this as soon as that virus hit. And Fauci, that guy should be put in prison for what he's gotten away with.
I agree.
He should be in jail, in handcuffs. That little pipsqueak, that old, Mike, I didn't realize how old some of these people are. I really didn't know, Mike, that Joey Behar, her real name was Oshochi or something. She's 78 years old.
Yeah.
And she's real tight with Nancy Pelosi.
Well, Pelosi's 80.
Real tight.
Yeah.
And Pelosi's 80. And they're both Italian-Americans.
See, we're just kids. Okay.
Yep, we're just kids.
Yeah,
okay,
we're
Mike,
just
anyway,
kids.
thank you for taking my call. You and Claire have a great weekend, okay? And have
we
a fantastic
certainly
weekend.
will. Thank you very much.
Mike, we go to Disney World.
Okay, thanks. So we'll hold you to that. We're going to switch over to Steve Elkins. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
I'll give you an update on that second flu shot for the COVID virus. Some of the employees came back, and I tell you what, they've been very verbal about this, that there was such an inconvenience and so much pain at the injection site that it's unlikely that any of these people would ever do this again. But hopefully, the damage is not going to start from this vaccine itself. But if this is made a yearly vaccine, I'm pretty certain that these people are not going to take it again. But one of the girls found out a temperature of 103.3.
Ouch.
That's pretty significant temperature after having the vaccine.
Yeah.
Yeah, 103.3. Now, I'd like to do a little test myself, and I would love it if somebody could do this. I have no lab to do this, but I tell you what, I would like to see a CBC, complete blood count, prior to the vaccine and then maybe 12 hours or 24 hours after the vaccine and see what a jump.
Okay.
I'm willing to bet with a 103.3 temperature there, you would see quite a spike in your white blood count.
Yes,
and
you would.
Maybe some other cursors there. It might be interesting to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they had the signs and symptoms of the virus itself.
Yes.
And very uncomfortable at the pains at the injection site. And one of the girls complained that at the injection site, it was evidently one of the deltoid muscles, either left or right deltoid. Just below that, the underarm area, there's lymph nodes. And the lymph nodes were very, very swollen. So that's about all I can report on that. It's all negative. Nothing positive about this, and I hope people are listening right now and not thinking about taking this vaccine. Just rely on good nutrition.
Yes.
A lot of other things, and don't rely on a fix. This is not a fix. It's very dangerous.
It is very dangerous. It's technology. They still don't know a lot about it. The problem with anything that is tinkering with your genes, it could be months or even years before effects start to manifest themselves.
Yeah. I worry about anybody who takes. My neighbor, he's supposed to take a second dose here, and I'm going to talk to him, and he's elderly and Parkinson's. I'm going to try my best to talk him out of this. I don't know. We'll see what happens, but not a good thing. That's it for me, Mike. Talk to you later.
All right. Thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Steve in West Virginia. Hello, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, hi, Mike. I want to tell you, GameStop, there's way more. Robinhood is restricting way more. They're even restricting some silver stocks now.
Okay.
There's a lot of short sellers, and what they're doing is the government is they're using the government is protecting the short seller, the hedge fund short sellers.
That's clearly what they're doing. Yep. Because everything these guys are doing is perfectly, these people over at Reddit, what they're doing is legal. They're playing by the rules that Wall Street set up. And Wall Street doesn't like the fact that they're able to play the game better than Wall Street does.
Right, all they're doing is pulling the money, is what basically,
Yeah.
and trying to pump up the stock and break the shirts. That's all they're doing. There's nothing illegal about it. And Robinhood is going to end up losing all its users because trades are free. Unless they're OTC trades, they're all free anyway, so you can go to any broker.
Yes.
And I know if you go to stock twits, they're speaking out against what Robinhood is doing. So I'll tell you, you mentioned earlier, sort of losers. I called up American Capital today and I said, ha, 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 you losers. But some guy answered the phone. But one other quick thing I got is I know somebody that just took the Moderna vaccine at the VA. And after he took it, he said he slept for 2 days straight. He said it just took all the energy out of him. He didn't get anything, but I haven't talked to him in a couple of days. But there's no chance I'm going to take it.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the information here, and we're going to switch over to Marco in Alabama. Welcome to the show, Marco. What is on your mind today?
Friday. Hey, good Friday. Hey, Claire, how are you doing?
Doing wonderfully. Feeling good about getting music out the door.
Glad to see you. It's been a minute. I guess, man, I want to get on board with this Reddit army, man. I'm telling you. I mean, because I have money, dude, from gambling, my gambling fund. I go to the casino probably twice a month, man, to sit here and build my war chest to get to Costa Rica, dude, because if this shit gets so bad, sorry.
Yeah, watch
so bad, I'm just going to leave the country, man. And I'm going where all the expatriates are, dude, in America, man. I'm just going into South America. So, lately I've just been focusing on gambling. I want to join this Reddit army. I mean, they were making money, man. It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
And that is better than hitting slot machines or playing poker.
Yeah, very much so.
Man, I guess where I want to go today, I'm pushing northwestern Florida.
Okay.
I mean, if I could leave right now, like I'm currently looking for other jobs with the VA and all that. I'm looking to get into the Pensacola area. I mean, there's strong conservatives in the Pensacola area. I mean, every time, like when we were doing flag waving, we'd do long caravans, going down I-65, to Pensacola the whole way. I mean, just, 350 trucks. I mean, it is a great feeling when you sit here and you see you're just in such a great number that people have no choice but to acquiesce and say, look, those people are Trumpers, man. These people are Americans, and there's no greater feeling. I mean, if you guys have ever, been to a flag wave or you join, a car caravan or anything like that, I mean, because this ain't quitting. I mean, there's no way, dude, that we can just sit here and just let this die. I mean, this was stolen from us. And
no question about that.
All the things, dude, that are going on, 40 executive orders in a week and all that stuff. I mean, it's going to get to the point, dude, where Biden is just going to be like, look, I'm the dictator, dude.
Yeah.
Do something.
Biden, Morales. Okay. Looking for a flag down here, but I can't find it. All righty. Well,
but, I just wanted to say have a good weekend, everybody.
Thank you.
We'll see you next week.
All right, you've got it. And again, the phone lines are open. Area code 512-248-8252. We're going to go to James in Vancouver. Hello, James. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hello. Greetings. Hello, Miss Claire.
Hello.
I've been working in the field of accelerated healing now for 23 years. And
okay.
Not only is there accelerated healing, but with this process, you can also reverse. You can reverse infections. You can reverse all kinds of things that are happening in the cell. And I actually wrote a book about it as well. But it exists. It was developed in Germany in the 1930s.
Okay.
And what it does is it interacts with the DNA in such a way that the DNA simply works faster to do its job. That's essentially it.
Okay.
Now, the physics books, if you read them, they always say there's four forces. There's the strong force, nuclear force, the electromagnetic force, there's the weak force, and then there's the gravitational force. But
yes,
what they don't talk about is the fifth force. There's a fifth force out there, which is purely quantum mechanical. And this fifth force is at the heart of it's at the heart of DNA, and it's also responsible for things like you mentioned AI, general AI, right?
Yeah.
Now, AI is, okay, one thing. General AI would be like a computer turning on by itself. Am I right?
Yes.
Do I have that correct?
Well, I think we need a better definition because my computer turns on by itself in the morning, but that's just clever programming.
Yeah, no, yeah, I understand. But the heart of these general AI would be this fifth force, which is in the DNA. Okay, so if you could hook the DNA, or any kind of DNA, to a switch, then the DNA is off and running by itself, you see.
Well, DNA really can't do a lot all by itself. It needs a host of chemicals. Anyway, James, we got to take a break for commercials. Thank you for the call. We're going to come on back here in a few minutes with yet another call. The phone lines are open, 512-248-8252. Welcome back to our show here, and we're going to go back to the phones to Sebastian in Sweden. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I would like to ask the lady Claire something. I know she plays the harp, but I'm sure she plays other musical instruments. And if whether or not she appreciates the guitar as a musical instrument.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. Lady Claire, I have something for you. If you haven't heard it yet, it's on YouTube, and it's Ludwig van Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, third movement, and it's played by Tina, a French girl by the name of Tina S. And if you look it up on YouTube and listen to it, it's fantastic. Every time I hear it, I've seen the greatest guitarists, Hendrix, Clapton, all during the 60s. That's why my hearing is so bad probably today. But
I can relate. And I'm a little older than you.
Okay.
But, well, I'm a 47 anyway. So if you two can this weekend, if you can look at this girl, she is fantastic. I think she was 16 or 17 when she did this, and now today she's like 22 or something. She's studying law or something. I heard in France. But it's amazing. You just have to listen to it and have a very nice weekend, both of you. Take care of each other.
We do.
We certainly will. Thank you very much. And we're going to go to Terry in California. Hello, Terry. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Oh, Mike, I just heard Steve talking about the vaccine.
Yes.
And I just got out of the hospital with pneumonia, and I got some lung problems. And they called me to get a COVID vaccine tomorrow. I got an appointment at 1:30. They're going to pick me up, take me down. And I said, I told a guy, I said, I heard that you're not supposed to get it if you're taking medications. They said, no, it's not true at all. Now, that guy that had the reactions, that was pretty much a second shot. I'm going to get the first shot tomorrow.
Okay.
And, but I keep going back and forth. Should I do it or not, And the other thing is, you said the advantage was it reduces symptoms. Well, if it reduces symptoms,
that's all it does.
Stay out of the hospital. and
Yeah.
not die, I mean, that's good enough for me. You know, I mean, that's
Okay.
good enough for me to take it. But I just want to clarify: is that true? You know, is it reduced to symptoms? Well, you don't know all details, of course.
No, I mean,
But,
the information keeps changing all the time, and that's been the problem ever since this thing started almost a year ago. Is that the information keeps changing, and we don't have reliable data to work from. We're being mushroomed. We're being kept in the dark and fed on garbage.
Right, and so I'm just wondering. I heard that the second shot was a bad one, and the first shot is not as bad as the first. There's a second. Have you heard
That's
that?
what I'm hearing, is that the second shot tends to produce more adverse reactions, but there are people who get adverse reactions on the first shot. Let me ask you one question, though, and please remember, I'm not a doctor. I played one once in a movie. Do you have any allergies to medication?
No. I
Okay.
don't.
All right, and can I ask how old you are?
So we're getting 79, and
Okay.
I've got life-threatening diseases and big things for the lungs. If I get COVID, it's all over. I'm dead because it's a lung infection, you know. And
I know.
So I'm just thinking, if the symptoms are reduced, then it might be enough to keep me alive, you know, at the end, you know, if I do get this thing. And I'm wondering, do you know if there's any advantage of taking the first but not the second shot?
Well, because the shortages are coming on up, they're already starting to sell the idea that one shot would work. Personally, I would wait for the Johnson & Johnson DNA shot to come on out. That's going to be a lot more stable. You know, the problem with these mRNA shots, and the reason they have to keep them so cold and use them so quickly, is that RNA is a very, very unstable molecule and can spontaneously mutate. That's why most filoviruses, have so many problems with mutation.
Yeah, so, like you say, it's a different technology altogether.
Yeah, Johnson & Johnson is a completely different technology.
Yeah. Okay, that just throws some more mix in my head, you know, so I can't set up one.
Okay.
I can make my own
Sorry about that.
Of course.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
All right,
Mike,
well,
thanks for the info.
You got it. We're coming up here on another commercial break here in about 10 seconds. And then we got more callers waiting on the line here. Another story from the international news, this from Global Research. International warmongers beat the war drums for war against Russia. Personally, I think it's a bad idea, but they don't listen to me anymore. We'll be right back with more phone calls after these few words. And welcome back to our show here. We're going to go back to the phones to Andrea in Oklahoma. Hello, Andrea. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Last night I was, they're hitting you heavy on advertisements when you're out on the computer, and this was one of them about the future of the 5G. They have in the future, they've already planned out that they're getting ready to cancel 5G, and they're wanting to start. Of course, you know that there's lots of satellites in the air already, and ever so often there's lots of debris flying around up there. That's where they're wanting to take this, is into the air. It's called Sky-Fi. That's SKY-FI.
Yes.
They're going to have, he started off, and his name is James West. He's a highly successful billionaire that plays the stocks. And he's telling you which of these companies to put your money on, because they'll need data. There's going to be the cars, like Tesla just shot up. Well, this is all a part of the future. This Sky-Fi will have, he started off saying it'd be 6G, 7G, 8G, and all the way up to 15G. And they would possibly have as many as 46,209 satellites shining down here on the earth, pushing that electricity to all the automobiles, your smart house with all the smart doors and the smart electricity. You wouldn't need gas anymore or coal anymore, because all this energy is going to be shining down on
Well,
us
I
down
think you're
here.
confusing energy for information. There have been sort of pie in the sky suggestions of building some kind of a giant power station in space and converting the energy to radio waves to beam down to the earth, where it's turned back into electricity with like a massive bridge rectifier. But there are obvious problems with that, like birds flying into the beam, not to mention passenger jets, cloudy days, and so forth. And what Sky-Fi is all about, just like Starlink and the other competitors out there, it's about trading information, data, rather than supplying power to what's on the ground. This idea of a global supply of power, this goes all the way back to Nikola Tesla, and he wasn't able to basically sell it because it couldn't be metered and sold.
Well, this is the way he packaged it, and for his information on the stocks and which companies to go with, he had shown that it would be a package of like $26,000, and these letters, he would show you who to put your money on. But the thing is, no, he showed pictures of it, and it was all these satellites. But I went ahead. I'll send you the information that I was able to capture, and you might, I just don't like the idea of additional 46,290 satellites in the atmosphere.
Yeah, it's going to get crowded up there.
To me.
You're welcome.
And aloha, and I love you, Claire, and I love you, Mr. Rivera. Have a great weekend.
Thank you very much here, and thank you for the call, Andrea. We're going to switch over to Joe in Nome. Hello, Joe. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Здравствуй, товарищ. Добрый день.
Russia.
I wanted to ask Claire what she thinks about that A432 scale that's also reflective of the music of the spheres, the 369. Is she familiar with any of that?
Yes. And it can, if it's handled brilliantly and sensitively, it can actually be very, very beautiful. I know I have heard some people work in that genre. It's not a place where I go as a composer, but I've heard some of it, and it can be quite beautiful, Joe, at least to my opinion.
Yeah, well, a lot of the rock stars, from what I understand, detune their guitars a half step to conform to that scale. But yeah, if you're going to play with other people that aren't, tuned that way, of course, it makes it kind of difficult.
Oh, yes, it's going to make it painful if you're a real musician to sit in that audience. And not only that, but I have heard stories by people who were doing security at these concerts where these players detuned before they started, and people would just get emotionally wild, Joe.
Yeah.
And, a security guard would finally, hopefully not hurt them, but gently embrace them and take them to a secure area. And they'd ask them, what the doggone heck happened to you? And they would have no idea.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, we've all been raised with Johann Sebastian Bach's even-tempered scale.
Yes, the well-tempered clavier.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one that was built into the organs, and even worse, the accordions.
Oh, yes.
Use an accordion, go to jail. And, because of the prevalence, we've all grown up with that scale. We're not even completely aware there's a different scale. There are many different scales.
Yes.
So when somebody starts playing in one of those off scales, it can drive us wacko. Just like certain flashing lights on animations can drive batty. Remember that story in Japan a few years ago?
Seriously, Joe, this is the heavens truth.
They had this character on a Japanese cartoon where the eyes were flashing, and children who were watching at home got sick.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Look, that scale, that 432, that goes back to megalithic times. They found flutes made out of swan bones that are tuned to 432. Now, I don't doubt that it's capable of creating alternate, whatever, perception.
Yes.
But I think the one we're using now ain't working so hot for us anyway.
Well, it depends on what kind of music you're playing. I mean, for some of Claire's exotic stuff, no. For 5-string banjo, works fine for me.
Oh, you tuned to that in the banjo?
Yeah, I used the G tuning on the banjo. He's not the only musician here.
No, Michael is a very good musician in his own right. Yeah,
Far from it, dude. I wish I could make a living playing music.
No, I didn't say I made a living playing music. I just said I play some instruments. Okay. You know, I'm her roadie is basically what it comes down to.
And a brilliant one. Thank you.
You forgot humble.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, you all have a nice day.
All right, same to you, Joe.
Thanks for calling in.
Spasiba. We're going to, you can tell it's Friday. We're getting punchy here at the end of the show. We're going to go to Mark in Florida. Hello, Mark. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind? Mark in Florida, are you there? Space aliens got him. Are you there, Mark?
Can you hear me now?
I can barely hear you. A lot of static on the line here. You know, for a moment we thought the space aliens had got you.
Oh, sorry about that. I'll be quick. I just wanted to comment on the gentleman that wanted to take a shot to get rid of symptoms. The symptoms aren't the disease. The symptoms is your body getting rid of disease or whatever poison or attacker it is. So you don't want to get rid of symptoms. You want to get rid of the disease, and if the vaccine doesn't take care of the disease, you don't want it. It's like smoking a cigarette to stop cancer.
Okay.
But that's just what I want to comment on. The symptoms are your body's warning you that something's wrong and is trying to get rid of it. And if you stop it from getting rid of it, you're going to keep the disease. So that's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thanks an awful lot. And we're going to switch over to Mary in Virginia. Mary, thank you for waiting patiently. What's on your mind today?
Yeah, Michael and Claire.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Hello, Claire.
Hello.
Claire?
Yes, I'm right here.
Hey, you're on music, right?
I'm a composer and I'm published, yes.
Yes, ma'am. Do you know Bill Gaither? He's in your neck of the woods.
No, he's up in Washington State mostly. Yeah. I mean, when we lived in Washington State, Claire knew Bill Gates' father through the Rotary. Through the Rotary.
No. Bill Gaither.
Gaither. Oh, the musician, of course.
Oh.
I know of him.
Okay.
I know of him, of course.
Pot you down a little bit. You're burning my ears out. Okay, there we are.
Bill Gaither. He's from Indiana.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
One of the best Christians on earth. He gives almost all of his money back to the world, okay?
Okay.
Most people don't know about him, but
we're going to have to hunt him down and show him your website.
Pardon?
I was telling Claire we're going to have to hunt this guy down and share her website, melophilia.net, with him, because that's where all of her, Christian music is piled up, along with, commercial music and, a bunch of other stuff.
He will take her in.
Okay.
And promote her. Anyway, he's from your neck of the woods, and he's one of my favorite.
All right.
Christians and composers.
Yep.
Good.
And Bill Gaither Trio.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my favorite songs is God Leads Us Along.
Okay.
And I'm sure Claire would enjoy that.
Okay.
We'll hunt him down. Know about him. My goodness.
Well, we're new to the area. I mean, a year ago we had just gotten here from Hawaii, and we knew all the Hawaiian recording artists. But give us a little time. We're getting plugged in and networked here.
Yeah, and Mary, we're both still working, so It's taking a little longer than I would like to wish to kind of get connected with the musicians here, but I'm working on it.
Okay, but when we win the lottery, things are going to change around here.
Bill Gaither will take in anyone.
All right.
Okay.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
God bless.
All right.
Bless you
Thank you
back.
very much. We're going to switch over to Jason in Arizona. Hello, Jason. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, thank you so much, and happy good weekend early to both of you guys, even though you're still not in Hawaii anymore. But yeah, I just had a little more to add on to the 444 versus 432 tuning.
Okay.
There was a conference, I believe in the 1930s, where they got together all these musicians to determine what the perfect A is by ear, because everything's tuned to A.
Yes.
And they all basically determined 432. But they assigned it officially to 444 anyway. So the controllers of the world, whatever you want to call them, I'm sorry, 440.
Yeah, concert
the
A is
controllers of the
440.
world assigned it that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they can. That opens up what they call the devil's harmonies and other things like that. But I would like people to think real quickly. I know you've seen it, where they take like a subwoofer and put a screen over it and put sand on it, and then they slowly go up through the different frequencies. And certain frequencies, and regular pattern create beautiful, beautiful images, and they're always the same.
Standing wave. Yes.
Yes, exactly. And the 432 is one of those beautiful patterns. 440 is just a jumbled mess. So I think they chose it to get us away from those. I'm not even religious, but those godly in unison with the universe waves, to put us onto something that's out of that, because that's all that these rulers, if you want to call them satanic, that's all they do is do opposite of everything that's good. So yeah, so I just wanted to get that little bit of information out there as well, because yes, and there's programs on the computer. Even if Claire did her stuff in 440, there's programs that automatically convert it to 432.
Oh yeah, we can detune her music creation program. I can process it in the audio post-production. We're kind of all over the place here. But Claire's taste in composition tends to be, rather conventional. And I'm the wild one, though. I'm the wild one out there with the 60s style synthesizers,
Yeah.
They keep saying, if you remember the 60s, you weren't really there.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that little bit of extra information I had there, that if you do, like I said, even me listening to metal music, I put it through on the 432 conversion, and it just sounds better. And this, I think, does go back to Nikola Tesla talking about how important frequency is in this world, as well as everything else. So I think that's why, since this world is ruled by evil people, they don't want anything good. So they're going to pervert and destroy everything.
Okay.
That's pretty much all I had to say. I just wanted to get that information, a little bit extra added on to the conversation there.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jason. We're going to switch over to Lauren in Ohio. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind today?
Hey, yeah, he's right about that. The dis-ease that's caused by the cacophony, that frequency, it actually does affect your body. And they, want us as weak as possible. But I was just going to say, my father-in-law, his cousin took the vaccine. He's 91, perfectly healthy. 5 days later, he's dead. We got the word yesterday.
Sorry to hear that.
They were saying on the show, hey, everybody knows somebody that has taken this shot and died. And I thought, well, no, I don't. I know somebody who they killed, putting them in the hospital, putting them on a respirator. That's not what they need, and they know it. But they're making that money. And I watched them kill this woman that way. They tried to do it to my father-in-law, and the lawyer daughter and the another daughter got this man out. They went, we need to do surgery. I mean, they're feeding on these people.
Yeah, they are.
People who are considering taking the vaccine, you need to understand. The man that called about why you get a flu, he's right. It's like if you never took the garbage out in your house for 20 years. What would be in there? Mice, roaches, because they're going to eat the food until it turns back to dust.
Well, we're about a year away from finding out.
Say again?
I said we're about a year away from finding out.
Oh, stop it.
Finding out what? Finding out what?
Well, you said in 20 years, if you don't take out the garbage, bad things happen. And I was just saying, with my housekeeping skills, we're about a year away from finding out.
Oh, stop it. He's in a mood. Ignore him, Lauren.
It's Pal Hunter Friday, and I'm getting kind of... Yeah.
I am kind of serious about this because people are actually going out and taking this because they won't tell them the truth. I want to remind people, Merck sharpened Dome a couple of days ago, the reason they withdrew is because they don't want to get caught dirty
That
in
was
this.
it. That was Merck. That was the one I was trying to remember here.
Yes.
All right, well, listen, Lauren, we got to take a last break for commercials. Stay on the line. I'm putting you on hold. We're going to come right back to you and finish up the show. Welcome back to our show here. We're talking with Lauren in Ohio. And Lauren, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'll just move it so that other people can get on if they want. But, hey, Claire, what's that software that you use for your music?
There are two programs I use. One is sound management. That is called Sonar or Cakewalk. The other is a scoring tool, which is brilliant, and it's called Sibelius. Sibelius is owned by Avid, and it really produces a gorgeous, readable manuscript. Now, my handwritten manuscript, Lauren, oh dear, it's indecipherable.
Actually, some of her musical brilliance comes from musicians misreading the notes and playing.
No, well, only if it's handwritten, which I don't do anymore.
Okay.
But these two tools do give me a good sound file that I can use as the basis for a demo that I can put up at the music website. And the Sibelius gives me a very clean, very clear, it doesn't look like a Rorschach blot score. So I do appreciate both of these packages.
Unfortunately, Sonar has basically been acquired by another company, which is offering the services over the internet rather than a standalone software. Say again?
Oh, boo. Is there any way you can buy it
that's
and own
definitely
it?
a boo.
My thoughts exactly.
Okay,
Lauren.
but you know, we've got legacy perpetual licenses, and you know, we keep hunting down Windows 7 machines so that Claire can keep doing what she's doing, because I hate Windows 10. If you didn't already know that, I hate Windows 10. And then the other things we use is Adobe Audition, CS3, and
Audition.
the Photoscore. We use Photoscore a lot. Yeah. I'm sorry. What did you say?
What was the Audition?
Adobe Audition.
Like Adobe Clay.
Right.
Like Adobe Photoshop.
Adobe
All the same company. Yeah. And
Phoenix. What was the PH one?
I think
Photoshop.
Photoshop for the graphics, but you probably don't need that one. And then, you know, I got a lot of plugins to go with the Adobe Audition, you know, things to take out reverb, which is really kind of cool considering the realities of some of our recording stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I'm going to have my daughters email you. So we can, I just want to know what stuff to work with. But anyway, you guys do a great show. It's so beautiful to see a beautiful husband and wife loving each other. This is America. God bless you.
All right. Well, thank you very much here. The problem is we're using older software packages. You know, the current trend in the industry is service contracts and subscriptions where you pay month after month after month after month, and call me a Luddite. I like a situation when I buy a piece of software, we get to keep it. There actually is a lot of free, high-quality music production software out there. In fact, I posted a link to a website with a lot of that some time ago. I'll have to hunt that down and get that reposted, okay?
That would be good.
Okay, and there's the music. It's time to end our show here on this Powhana Friday. Stay tuned for John Stedmiller. I'm sure he's got lots of interesting things to share with you. Spread the word of Republic Broadcasting. Spread the word of whatreallyhappened.com. Please donate, and we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Aloha, America.